What is up? I'm Melissa Makak from Room 51, and this is Teach the Teach 101 on the Dice Tower, where I teach you general tips and tricks on how to teach board games. And this video is part 2 of my, mini-series on different types of learners. So in my first video, I covered those who like to learn kinesthetically, meaning those who want to touch things and do things. But this video, I'm going into visual learners. And then ultimately, I will have another video on auditory learners, and then my last video will be combining all types of learners in one sort of session when you are teaching board games. But anyway, visual learners. So these are the type of people who like to visualize things. They want to see stuff, right? So I like to do, what I like to do is use player aids, because player aids are a way for those who like to learn visually. They could read along, they could look at things. Sometimes, what am I even saying? Sometimes people who like to learn visually, they might be the ones who are not quite paying attention to what you're saying because they're kind of busy teaching the game to themselves a little bit, right? Because they're reading the player aid, they're looking all over the board to see what's going on and trying to connect the dots and everything. So I think player aids are a great thing. Now, sometimes games don't come with enough player aids, which is baffling to me. I don't understand why you would come with just like 1 or 2 player aids. What I would do is, if you have the time and the resources, to print out multiple player aids, enough for each player, or if you write it out, whatever you got to do, that way everybody has one, and those who do like to learn visually, they could look at the player aid and read along. And that's also something that I like to do when I'm actually teaching the game. I like to go through the player aid a lot of times. Or something like Scythe. So I want to use Scythe as we go through this series. I use Scythe for kinesthetic learners. Scythe has player aids. So one of the things you might do when you're talking about like movement restrictions, I like to talk briefly about it, and then if people want to know a little bit more, I direct them to the player aid because it has a whole little excerpt on how that works, how that functions, and it also gives you the other side of the player aid. It also tells you like what different factions can cross over different types of, well, terrain. Which terrain they could go from to another kind of thing, right? So visual learners might really like to see that in action. So player aids are super awesome for visual learners. Pretty much anyone, really. But visual learners. Another thing is that the visual learners, and this kind of coincides a bit with kinesthetic learners, where they want to see the components and everything, right? So what I like to do with those who like to learn visually is show them the cards. And this is, I do this for most of my teachers, but this is specifically important, I think, for those who really do prefer learning visually. So I'm going to use the example of Seven Wonders, because Seven Wonders has a whole ton of different kinds of cards, right? Where you have like the science and the civilization cards and market and whatever, right? All generalized by different colors, or not generalized, sorted. They're categorized by different colors. So I like to set out certain cards aside, and you'll notice this in my regular Teach the Teach segments a lot of times with board games, but I like to set it out and I'll say, like, here's the science card, and this is what the market card looks like, and all this sort of stuff, right? And this is what you could do with it. And that way they see it, they see the card, and this is how they can remember it a little bit better. This is how they can integrate the rules into the way they're going to play. So that's really it for those who like to learn visually. They are the readers. They are the people looking all over the board. They might be sometimes the ones who kind of stop paying attention to what you're saying because they're too busy looking at everything, which is fine. Just be aware of it. That is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave your questions and comments below in the comment section. Anyway, I will catch you next time. Have a good one.